Welcome back, my friends, to another episode of TFT Hyperroll from Mission for Tuition. You know what the channel's about? We're trying to raise money for our son's middle and high school tuition because he has to go to a nonsensically expensive special school. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all of the good stuff to help with the YouTube algorithm because it helps get it out there. Since we don't take donations, the only money made for tuition is from advertising. So help us out. With that said, let's get started. And let's jump straight to the augments because that's where this one gets rolling, because we got prismatic augments. And I had a choice between golden ticket and potentially going Yordle or challenger crown. And I know 8 challengers in this set is ridiculously strong. So even though I didn't have an NPC that would make any sense at all, I decided to go for it because I knew I could get there eventually. At this point, Twitch is just going to serve as an item holder, so I go ahead and put the Runin's Hurricane onto him along with the Challenger emblem so that he's attacking faster, but this isn't really about winning so much as just rolling forward. And of course, you run into a team that already has an additional member because they got a better prismatic augment than me, but I'm hoping I'm going to make up for it before the end of the match. Seeing a lot more Camille's than I originally expected, I decided to roll down in the hopes that maybe I can get an early gold. Once I get to 4, I'm going to want to have 4 challengers out there, so I'm also picking up any challengers I find as I continue forward. Now, I'm not necessarily getting the challengers I'm looking for. I was hoping for a Warwick, but in this case, you want to maximize buffs. So I put out a Sejuani and then throw back in Nocturne so that I can activate the Hextech buff. So I'm getting at least my 4 challengers and 2 Hextechs. And then, of course, you'll have to face off against one of the 5 or 6 Yordle teams out there, but luckily with 4 challengers early, you're going to have an easy time of it. For items, the Sparring Glove is a no-brainer because when you're thinking challengers, you're thinking either Draven or Tryndamere, and both of them will do well with an Infinity Edge, which is what we're going to make here and throw onto Nocturne so that he can be just a little bit stronger. For the sake of time, let's jump ahead to the next set of augments, where it's not really that friendly to what I'm doing. I decide to go with Disintegrator 2 just so I can have a greater impact on doing damage to high health targets. I finally get to pick up the Tryndamere, which means it's time to say goodbye to Nocturne. You have served us well, and those items will also work fantastically on Tryndamere. But for now, I cannot make use of the additional Challenger emblem because I have challengers all over the board. Then we have the unfortunate pleasure of running into someone who's doing a lot of the same thing we are, only with mutants instead of straight challengers. And the mutant buff is obviously winning at this point in the match. But once we can get to 8, maybe we can turn that around. We dispatch the NPCs, and when I see the chance to pick up Negatron Cloak, I go for it because I want to get some healing onto Tryndamere, and this will create the Bloodthirster. So now Tryndamere isn't going to be as squishy, and then again, the Challenger buff stayed in the game for a moment, but is immediately sent back out once I have the opportunity to pick up a Draven, and now I have 6 challengers on the board. As you can see with the 6 challengers, attack speed is greatly increased, which is allowing Tryndamere to do a ton of damage and decimate the damage charts. I picked up a Zac who's hanging out on the bench for now, but my plan is to put him in after this so that I can trigger the Chemtech buff to give myself that little extra attack speed and health regeneration throughout the match. For our final augment, I always love healing, and we get a shot at it. Celestial Blessing 2 will be perfect for this team. Along with the attack speed, they'll be healing for more. This will allow Tryndamere to stay up even longer and thus do more damage. Since this is also sort of the end of the road, I have to use my components, and with Camille up at gold, I put the Edge of Night on her to keep her around longer. And of course, if you haven't noticed, it's Yordle team after Yordle team, which luckily they're sort of battling each other, which leaves me clear to just cut them apart. Now here's where you're going to see where that Chemtech buff really matters. Everything's going normally, but Tryndamere is in danger of dying. But the Chemtech buff kicks in, which allows him to heal some health and finish off the rest of their team. This was an interesting choice because there was part of me thinking to grab the static shiv and put it on Draven so that I could do a lot of magic damage and reduce magic resist throughout their team, but I ultimately chose the Warmogs to put on Zac just to allow him to be tankier and hold people in place while the rest of my team is doing damage. I'm also able to get lucky, find the kaisa I need to now have the 8 challengers. I held on to Seraphine because in the next round it'll allow me to put one more person out and I can recreate the Socialite Hex. I also throw the Quicksilver onto Warwick so he's not slowed down from scratching people. This will make him the most effective possible at doing as much damage as he can. And while this team we're facing is very strong, you can see what the additional attack speed and Chemtech will do. It keeps us in and ultimately allows us to win. And then a quick call over to Gary and we're able to get ourselves the second Kaisa and finally make use of that Nico's help. So now we have a 2-star Kaisa with the 8 Challenger buff. And in reality, 8 Challengers is so strong it almost feels unfair at this point. The attack speed is so increased you can see that teams are just getting decimated. For the final item, I decided to just grab a Spear of Sojin, and along with the Sunfire Cape I just put up, I'm going to stack Camille, who is still a gold champion and is staying in there a long time, and this will allow her to keep people in place with her casting. Of course, I'm looking for a Cult Tryndamere as I'm just 1 away. And I'm not even speeding matches up at this point. Yes, they really are attacking this quickly at normal speed. 8 challengers. It's incredibly strong, so if you by chance get the opportunity to, do it. And this is the team who early on was able to get that increase in team size, which is in my opinion the best augment you can get, but it still can't stand up to 8 challengers. And as much as I wanted to just for the thumbnail, I could not find the last Tryndamere to turn him into gold, but with 8 challengers, it's just not necessary. They're going to wreck teams and win games. So again, if you get the chance, go for it. Itemize Tryndamere really well, and you're gonna win. Hope you enjoyed the video and have an absolutely awesome day.